What's happening, everybody? Todd Crandall from Racing for Recovery on another podcast promoting the new Choose Love t-shirt. So if you want one of these, get it on the website. I have one Rick Kersey with us today. How are you, sir?
Very good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I asked you if you were nervous today, and you said yes. Why?
I don't know. I just, whenever just thinking about doing this and knowing that it was coming, and it had been a while since I had spoke, and then a lot of memories start coming back. You know, it's been a few years now, and so I just kind of replay a lot of things in my mind, and that made me a little nervous, but
So
I'll get through it.
Absolutely, we
Yeah.
will, and it's going to reach some people.
Right.
I asked you a week ago to do this, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
So how long have you been rehearsing, like what you think we're going to talk about? Or?
No.
Okay.
It's just mainly I started thinking about Jake a little bit, you know, and today was the only day that I thought, oh, this is coming up, and I was just thinking, I hope that I come across okay and don't get too nervous and, you know, stumble and mutter and stutter and all that jazz, but other than that, so.
Just be you.
Yeah.
Let's get into it. You want to talk about Jake first?
Absolutely.
Go ahead. Who is Jake?
Jake, my only son, he was born in 92, and he was kind of a lot like me. We both were really into sports and drag racing. I used to have a race car back when he was younger, and you know those were kind of the things that a lot of life revolved around that for us. You know, that was the thing that we did. We'd go to football games, support the local high school team, and then whenever he was coming up through Pee Wee and junior high and high school, you know, that was the big thing for us. So
Did he played, obviously, right?
Yeah, yep.
Where did he go to high school?
Whitmer.
Was a Panther?
Yes.
Couldn't have been a Wildcat, right?
Close.
Did he have aspirations of going on and
You
playing?
know, when he was young, he did, and he quit his junior year in high school. I didn't know at the time, but you know the drugs were kind of taking charge a little bit even at that time, and he kind of lost interest in the sports at that point. And I thought it was something else. He was saying that his back was bugging him and stuff like that. And then then you'd see, you know, after that, you know, a couple of years later, be playing flag football and stuff. So I think it was just his interest got pulled away from it, really.
So let's stick with this for a second.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
First of all, I mean, I am sorry for I know everybody
Thank you.
says
Yeah,
that, right?
absolutely,
But
yeah.
I am. And I'm going to ask you a lot of questions about your involvement in Racing for Recovery and so forth. But
Sure.
no parent is responsible for what we choose to do, right? So,
Right.
but looking back at this moment, when he quit playing football,
Yeah.
if you could have a do-over, would there be more questions you might ask during this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there were signs at different times, and I was always part of it is my personality-wise is I'm kind of a forgiving person, and I'm willing to, you know, there were things that happened, and he would get in troubles for something, and I would trust, you know, a short time later that it was all good, and you know things were back to normal again. And same thing with, you know, whenever found out that he was using different things, and you know, you would have the revelation, you know, you'd be upset and you would deal with it. And then you would think that, okay, seems like things are going better. And then you let your guard down again. And then the next thing you know, you have another issue blow up in your face. And we dealt with that a lot over the years.
So you weren't cognizant of the fact he was doing any type of drug at this point?
The first I ever found out about anything was in high school. I found, I guess the thing that he had gotten into was a drug. It was called Opana, an opiate, and they were grinding it up. And I found a hollowed out ink pen in his room, and I had no idea. I had never touched anything in my whole life, so I was at a total disadvantage throughout, you know, the years with this stuff. And I found a pill in his top drawer, and I looked it up on the internet with the markings on it, and that's what it was. And then, the confession and stuff came whenever you kind of got onto him about it. And that's, I found out that was how it was being misused and stuff.
And did you say that he was doing this because of pain? Was there a pain factor because of football?
No.
Or this was just, I'm getting high?
An experimentation thing. And I don't mean to go too far ahead, but like I've got some of his writings after he passed, and he kind of told his story, and so much of that I was clueless about, and it was shocking the things that he had tried and experimented from like early high school on and through till the time we lost him.
Do you look at those letters as are they gifts to you?
Yeah, it told me a lot, and there was also some things where the coroner's deputy, whenever he passed, they took his wallet they told me that there was a letter in there addressed to me, and that was so hard, to read that. But it was basically, I think he knew that at some time he was going to die from this, and it was basically an apology, and then there was confessions of some of the things that he had done over the years, like had swiped some money from his sister, and took things out of the house that didn't catch, and so that was really hard to see that, but it was a gift. It gave me a little bit of understanding. Some of the medical reports that they had in his files and stuff, told me a little bit more too, because when it was going on in high school, I had taken him to counseling, and he'd seen a psychologist and stuff, but because of the confidentiality, then they didn't really tell me, a whole lot. A lot of the stuff was just him in there with a counselor. And I found out that, after he had passed and looking at that stuff, that he had been diagnosed with the bipolar disorder and, a couple other things. And so that everything just kind of the puzzle, little pieces, they kind of came together, and it gave me a little bit more understanding.
So let's do this, and we're going to obviously keep talking about Jake and stuff, but how long ago did you find Racing for Recovery, and how did that come to fruition?
Well, whenever a couple of years before he passed, then he had gotten a DUI, and he went to court in Sylvania, and they, as part of their program, they sent him, he had got a bunch of literature, and they had like classes over at a hotel over on Secor. And, I looked through some of the stuff that he had, and there was a pamphlet from Racing for Recovery that he had gotten. And I tried to get him to go to that. He was working at Jeep, and his schedule was kind of diverse, but we went to a Sunday walk at Wildwood, and we really enjoyed it. I mean, the people were very nice, and, it was something that we both liked that day and wanted to do more of it. It never happened. He had been to like some other meetings. Because I didn't know anything at the time, and whenever crises would come up there at the end, and he was losing his apartment and losing his car, I was like, well, where do we go? And you're looking through the phone book, and it was a Narconon meeting downtown, and that was kind of a crazy experience down there, and people were like trying to sell him stuff when we were walking out of the place, and that was just totally mind-boggling to a person that had zero exposure to that world in their life. And then you have your son, and you're trying to find a way to help him. And I wish, I've said many times, I wish that I could have gotten him in here, because I feel that he'd still be alive today, seeing what I've seen over we're going on 4 years now in the fall. Since I first walked in here, I've seen a lot of people do so well. And that's the biggest tragedy to me, was that I couldn't get him in a program here before it was too late.
What have you learned through these almost 4 years at Racing for Recovery that not only that you think is helping other parents that are going through this, whether their child has unfortunately been lost or they're currently battling,
right.
And what do you think helps you to further understand Jake after being with us for these 4 years?
Well, one thing that I've mentioned a couple times over the years is having lived with somebody that was struggling so mightily with addiction, and seeing the pained look on his face whenever we would talk during those times, and when he was at his lowest points and like getting ready to go, into rehab again, and taking him on that drive, to over to, oh my gosh, my mind went blank. But anyways.
A place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Arrowhead. But just on that drive over there, and the strained conversation and the hope that, maybe he'd be okay and take it to heart. I think a lot of times that, it was a little bit of gaming the system and just getting out of a crisis and go through the motions. And then when you get a little bit back on your feet again, then just go back to using again.
You're hitting it right on the head. What separates Racing for Recovery from these other common treatment modalities is, I believe, and even listening to you, it's like there was never the core problem being addressed. It's
Absolutely.
not Opana, or it's not alcohol, it's not heroin, it's not cocaine. It's like, what is going on emotionally that is leading a decent kid to be using this stuff? And that is so gut-wrenching to constantly watch people do the same song and dance over and over, and there's no resolve.
And that the first time I heard that here, it was like kind of a eureka moment to me. And then being around here and being around the people that come and go, through the program, it's like, I see that. I see it. You see people that come in and they're quiet and they're sitting on the back edge. And then the ones that really, take it to heart and really want to do better. And like you said, they get to the root of the issues. It's like unlocking a key and seeing that inner person come out. And Jake told me, on the last time I took him to rehab, he said, he was crying and he said, I'm that same little boy on the inside that I am not this. And, that's hard, even after all this time. But, and I knew it. And that's the hardest thing too. You see this person that has done, things that they're not proud of and things that have been really hurtful to you and your relationship and the family. And knowing that on the inside, they don't want to do that. They don't want to be that, then, that was, like I said, being here and seeing people get past that and break through that. And then you see them light up and you see their face change, their voice change. They're strong and they're putting their life together and they're doing what they say they're going to do, and the results are showing up. And man, it's like, look out. There's the people that, were coming here whenever I first started, and I get to see them, like whenever I was going out to Wildwood this summer, then, there's guys that have been in the program and with the program for a long time, and they're having a great life now, and they're strong, and they're, and there's kind of like a brotherhood or sisterhood also, of the people that have done well and are continuing to do well. And that's been the blessing to me. And that's why I keep coming, is two things. It's like, to see that is very, very, very warming to my heart. And it kind of saves me in a way. And then also I try to contribute and say things, and certain people just, you feel compelled to speak to them. Certain times in a meeting, a topic comes up and you feel compelled to open your heart and talk, and just the hope that that little thing will, make an impact on somebody that will help them, continue and not make the big mistake and live, that's why I keep coming around. So.
Well, and that's one of the things that I am so proud of Racing for Recovery for, is being, the first program that's actually had family members and people who are battling addiction in the same environment, because it gives you guys the opportunity to speak on your side of the fence that can be a catalyst for us to look at this whole thing in a different light. And I have so much respect for you as a human being, but to come in here and do that, right? I mean, when you speak in there, I always say, I hope people are listening.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You mentioned something else too about Jake saying, I'm that same little boy. Boy, that was hard to hear. I've never heard you speak like that before on Jake. again, that is the core of what's missing. You can go into a treatment agency and have them say, stop doing Opanis
Right.
and go to some meetings. But what is getting addressed for that little kid that has something wrong that they're feeling? Nobody is looking at that.
Yeah.
I just did a talk this morning at Central Catholic High School, and some of these kids were coming up to me afterwards and talking about the pain that they're in.
Yeah.
And it's not getting addressed. So it's almost like that's why people end up using drugs or alcohol, not because they're bad people.
Yeah.
That hurt never gets addressed. And was that ever looked at with any of Jake's attempts in rehab?
You know, his meetings were with someone in private, so I didn't really get to. They were more in prescribing different things to him, and I think there was, like I said, something a little bit about playing the game, and there was a little bit, I think, of manipulating with the different pills and stuff too, to see which ones, you know, had more of an effect of, you know, making you feel loose as opposed to, you know, helping you. But
So what was it like watching him play football?
Oh, I was a proud dad, you know. That was my biggest thrills. Were getting to work the chains on the games, you know, the Pee Wee games and junior high games, and I got to do that for my grandson too in the last couple of years. And I mean, you're right up there as close as you can get without, you know, lining up next to him in the huddle.
Right.
So, you know, it was very, very good times. Very good times.
Have you found, God, this is such a cliche question, but has there been any, I don't like saying closure, has there been any new revelations, new information, a change of mindset that has helped heal your soul in any capacity?
I feel like I get little things here and there when I hear kids talk, and little things that'll come out that are, you know, very relevant to what I experienced with him. An example of, you know, people saying that, you know, why they kept things from their loved ones, and, you know, that they didn't want to hurt them, and, you know, different things like that. Just little bits and pieces have been like little pieces of the puzzle that have helped me gain some understanding, you know, of why and some of the whats.
Is there anything you've learned from other parents, whether unfortunately are in your same shoes or parents that just have kids that are currently struggling or even recovered? Is there anything that they've said that has helped you or taught you?
No, it's just there's kind of like a common bond more than anything, and that's whenever I first came in here with Pam, and then, you know, Randy was a big help speaking to him. And then whenever Gail and Bruce came in, then we kind of reached out to them a little bit in the beginning, and, you know, kind of tried to help them a little bit just to figure out why we were even coming in. You know, that's whenever we went to the first meeting, then it was like Pam and I had the conversation. Okay, we went to this meeting. Now what? What do we do? And I thought it was such a good atmosphere in here and so much going on that I just felt so good that first meeting. It was very emotional for us the first time, and I just felt like I needed to keep going, and I had said, let's take this journey and see where it goes. And man, over the years, to see so much growth in the program and so many events that have happened, you know, and the supporting the races and stuff like that has been very, very nice. And oh my God, the people that I've met, so many wonderful human beings that I've been fortunate enough to make acquaintance with during my time here. And some of them, you know, they don't come in all the time. The ones that have been, you know, with around the program 18, 20 years or whatever, then whenever they do come in, it's like a little homecoming, you know, to see them and to greet each other and stuff.
Yeah, I like to call the old school. I mean, back at the church,
Yeah.
when we were there. I mean, you've mainly been out at this fortunate building that we're in now,
Yeah.
but you've been around enough to see the growth, and I attribute that growth just to the people that are coming in here,
Right.
and what Racing for Recovery is doing for them. That's why this is finally finding its stride, so to speak.
Yeah.
Tell me what it's like just to come in on a Thursday on the camaraderie that's here, the friendships you've alluded to. What's that like?
There's
for
a couple
you?
things, and another thing that I've mentioned one other time before, besides coming in and seeing who shows up. One time I'm kind of an early bird, and I was sitting in a room before the meeting started, but I'm just kind of sitting there by myself and listening. And as the people come in and fill out the seats, there's just so much harmony and people laughing and, getting along, and it's just such a good atmosphere. And then you hear some people start talking about some of the really messed up things that have happened in their lives, and it's like, how can that even be? You see a minute ago all this, warmth and happiness and laughter, and then to realize that this person has had so much hurt. I mean, it's a good thing because it's a sanctuary, where these people can feel good again and have some happiness in their lives. But it's also shocking knowing, oh my gosh, but
It's kind of a reminder of you really don't know what somebody's going through.
right.
And again, that's back to what we were talking about with treatment and stuff. Somebody can sit across from you in a counseling session and talk about, yeah, I'm doing substances and so forth, or even come into a meeting and say they're sober.
Right.
But you don't really know with what they're dealing with underneath it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Excuse me. And again, I love the power of that's what the Racing for Recovery support group meetings really can bring out with people, where they feel safe enough to say, hey, this is what's really happened, and get that endless support on a clinical level, a support level from peers and family. That's what truly makes us shine, right?
Yes, absolutely.
What else do you want to talk about with Jake?
Well, I brought this. This is a little medallion I got whenever he passed. There's a little bit of his ashes in there, and I take it anytime I go to some place that he loved, any sporting event or anything like that, or anything that really means a lot, like this today, because it's in his memory. Like I say at every meeting, that's why I'm here. I'm in his memory. His name is going to be spoke as long as I'm alive, and just supporting the people in the program here as long as I can, and his memories. I don't want things to be ended, with him. I want, to be a part of this and whatever, to try to help spread a little bit of, his legacy and make him happy, make him proud of me. So
What do you think he'd say to you today?
I think he'd say it's cool. Yeah, I think he'd say it's cool. And it's been a pretty cool, thing all along. All of, like I said, just the journey of, the events and the things that have happened in this building, and the people, the lives that we've got to be a little part of and touch, has been really neat. So
You think he is proud of you for being here?
I think so. Yeah. I think if he had any choice, then he'd be sitting right here beside me telling the story too. So
What do you think he would say? He walks in for the first time on a Thursday night. What does he say to the people who are in his shoes that are sitting in that meeting? What's his message?
I think he would say that I was in your shoes and I didn't become a part of something like this, and I'm not alive anymore because of it. I mean, that's all of the, like you said, you can go to so many programs and so many meetings and all that, but unless you address the issues and unless you take it to heart and truly want to live and get past this, then you won't. So I just think, he would want to tell people that you may not get another chance, to go back out there and use again and then come back to the next meeting a week later. It doesn't happen,
So okay, now you're speaking to someone who's watching this, and they will be, and they're currently battling addiction.
Yeah.
What do you want them to get out of this, and what do you think that Jake would? I mean, you kind of answered that, but it's more direct of like, this is what I want you to take from my words and do something.
Well, this program is a lifeline, in my opinion. I think by being a part of this program and learning, educating yourself, healing yourself, using the gifts and the tools that you're given here and staying a part of it. I've said a lot of times in the meetings to people, stay apart. Don't just do your IOP and go back off and do your thing, stay apart. You may not have to show up to every meeting, but keep in touch and, stay a part of the program because it works. And the people that I've seen that have thrived the most are the ones that are still in some way, active and involved here. So,
that's powerful, Rick.
yeah.
Where do you see this program of ours, because this isn't ours, where do you see us going?
Well, I've been amazed at so many things that have happened over the last few years. So any idea that I could have would probably limit what you're actually doing
No.
or what you got cooking.
Not really. I learned from listening to people around here. I'm just like, I don't know what it's like to be a member of this per se. I have just such a different view on all of this. And sometimes a lot of times I'm envious of how people, their mindsets of this coming into it. And I've known you for a long time, and we talked about how much we've grown, but I just wonder how you see us going in the future or where this is going to go.
Well, I think one of the parts of the program that's changed since I've come along that I think is the most helpful and probably leads to a lot more success is the housing and being able to put people up there, because Jake was in a sober living community after he finished up at Glen Bay, and he basically ran out of time and money to stay there and stay a part of that. And then he opted to come back and go back to work at Jeep because he still could keep his job then, and he died the night he got home. So, I think that's a tremendous thing right there, is that you can keep people in a safe place long enough to where they're strong enough to get on their feet and work the program and be successful, instead of, popping out of the nest before you're ready to fly.
Hearing you say that, I'll be honest with you that it upsets me, because, and that's one of the things that is different about us. And I'm not going to put an exact number on that. We're working on that soon, but we literally donate tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars in service and lodging for people to prevent exactly what you just said right there. It is not about, I don't have money, therefore I can't get help. We are care first and business second. And we will never lose that order as long as I'm involved in this, because of exactly what you just said right there. Yeah. It's not, well, I'm sorry, your insurance ran out, you're out of here.
Yeah.
It's, you're here until you are ready to leave.
Right.
Then leave gradually with one foot in us and then one foot back in a career or whatever. A job is not going to solve a drug problem.
Right.
It won't. And parents have that misconception so much still that, oh, my kid needs to get back to work. I'm like, no, not now. Yeah. That's not the answer. And you're validating that again.
Right.
Do you ever see yourself as being a more active role with us? Like working here someday?
I have thought about that. I have. And I'm on disability for work right now, so I'm kind of going through that issue of what I'm going to be able to do in the future and everything. But even at the very least, volunteering, and helping out here, I always saw myself as, finding a little bit of a different position to help out here for sure.
I'm open to anything you want to do with it.
Be a Walmart greeter or
right.
whatever.
We give you a little vest, right? Even a name badge on it.
Sure.
So I'm going to ask you one question and then give you an opportunity to ask me anything you want before we wrap up. But what do you want to say to Jake?
Just that I love you and I miss you dearly. And like I said, I wish that things could have been different, and I wish that I could have had him sitting beside me in these meetings. I see the families come in here, and it makes me so happy that they've got that going on, and that's such a big weapon, against addiction is to have your parents sitting right beside you in a meeting, So I just said I miss him.
Is there anything you want to ask me that we can keep talking further? I ask everybody that does that, and some ask me stuff and others don't, but I just
want to tell you, and I always feel this way, is that I have the utmost respect for what you do in here. I love seeing, the amazing growth and the changes that come across throughout the years, and just, to let you know that I'm always here to help in any way I can. So
I appreciate that, Rick.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm able to do what I do just because of people. That's
Right.
it. And I appreciate everything you've done. I think when it comes to October for our annual 5K, I know you're going to be there.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have to call you.
Yep.
I know you're going to be there. And I really appreciate you doing this. Thanks for
Sure.
coming on.
Thank you, sir.
As always, if you need help, please call us at 419-824-8462. I hope everybody watching this clearly paid attention to what Rick had to say today, and keep us some Jake in your thoughts and prayers. And we'll see you next time. Take care.